Hello everyone. Welcome to CivicCentre IAS Civil Services Prime Time, Week 9. Thank you for encouraging us till now. అంటే లాస్ట్ 9 వీక్స్ బేసిస్ ఆల్రెడీ 50 ఎపిసోడ్స్ దాటినా సరే మమ్మల్ని ఇలా ఎంకరేజ్ చేస్తూ మీ సపోర్ట్ చూపించినందుకు ఏ వెరీ బిగ్ థ్యాంక్ యూ. Likewise, please subscribe to the channel and please go through all the knowledgeable content that we have given. అలాగే PCM బ్యాచెస్ అనేవి తెలంగాణ గ్రూప్ 1 కావచ్చు, ఏపీపీఎస్సీ గ్రూప్ 1 కావచ్చు, ఈ నవంబర్ 3rd నుంచి స్టార్ట్ అవుతున్నాయి. So refer your friends and refer your relatives and get 20% off on the admission fees. Right. Now let's go into the topics. In this week, we cover the current affairs of economy starting from 17th to 23rd of October 2025. And we have the topics of India's iron and steel exporters face highest CBAM levy. What is CBAM and why Europe is actually implementing it, we'll be knowing it. Women form 49% of total hospital admissions with Ayushman Bharat. So women's health is improving and the state's support to the increasing women's health expenditure is good. Net FDI fell 159% in August, RBI data. FDI keeps on falling and this is a time which is a threshold moment for India's foreign investments. Now, does India's 1.9 fertility rate reflect reality? So we are decreasing the total fertility rate. It means we are a declining population. Are we really a declining population? We'll be knowing it. Core sector growth slows down to a 3-month low of 3% in September. Yes, US tariffs have affected. Likewise, the reduced oil prices have also affected. RBI sold $7.7 billion in August to check rupee volatility. The strong forex reserves that India have is helping RBI to streamline the India's rupee, streamline the India's currency. Right. We are from getting more fluctuated. And this week the topic of importance is Kerala set to officially be first state free of extreme poverty. And Kerala's first again. First it is literacy, second it is digital literacy. Now it is becoming the first state to be free from extreme poverty. Now we will be seeing all the topics one by one. The first topic is India's iron and steel exporters face highest CBAM levy. What is CBAM? It is Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism levy. It is a tax imposed on the European importers who have imported the goods from those nations that are producing more carbon dioxide emissions of that particular product compared to that of EU. Let's say that ఒక బకెట్ ఉంది, ఒక బకెట్ని ప్రొడక్షన్ చేయడానికి యూరోప్లో 1 ton ఆఫ్ కార్బన్ డైఆక్సైడ్ అయ్యింది. అదే బకెట్ని ఇండియాలో ప్రొడ్యూస్ చేయడానికి లెట్స్ సే 3 tons ఆఫ్ కార్బన్ డైఆక్సైడ్ అయ్యింది. Then the bucket that was imported from India to the European Union, it was CBAM, Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism levy is imported on the importers in order to adjust what is the amount which is the difference between the carbon dioxide emissions and thereby reducing the imports of those nations which are using the non-renewable sources of energy, which are using the polluted sources of energy like coal and thermal sources of energy, like right. So this is called Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism levy. And what is the objective of this particular levy by Europe? So the objective is, if at all the imports from those countries which are producing more carbon dioxide gets reduced, those countries will realize that we need to ensure the clean production so that it can be imported to the Europe. Now let's say ఇండియా నుంచి యూఎస్కి ఇంపోర్ట్స్ అనేవి తగ్గిపోతాయి ఓవర్ టైం రేట్ బికాస్ 50% టారిఫ్స్ అనేవి ఇంపోజ్ చేస్తారు. నౌ వీఆర్ షిఫ్టింగ్ అవర్ ఎక్స్పోర్ట్స్ ఫ్రమ్ ఇండియా టు యూరోపియన్ యూనియన్ బికాస్ వీఆర్ ఆల్సో క్యారింగ్ అవుట్ ద ఇండియా యూరోపియన్ యూనియన్ ఫ్రీ ట్రేడ్ అగ్రిమెంట్ అండ్ వీ ఆల్రెడీ హ్యావ్ ఇండియా European Free Trade Association Free Trade Agreement and we already have India UK Partnership Agreement. Right, so all this together is indicating that India is shifting its export diversification towards the Europe. Now, when CBAM is levied starting from 2026, when it is levied, the iron and steel exports from India, which are majority to the European countries, will be definitely impacted because of its non-competitiveness. ఎందుకంటే CBAM levyతో the cost of the product will be increased. Thereby the imports into Europe will be getting reduced. Now what will India think? Okay, let's actually comply with the CBAM norms. So we will also adopt the clean technologies in order to produce iron and steel so that they can be imported more into the Europe. On one hand, it can be a discriminatory nature where India's emissions are very high to that of the world and that of Europe also. India 75% carbon dioxide emissions చేస్తున్నాం because we are more dependent on coal based energy rather than renewable sources of energy for the production. As we are dependent on thermal energy based product power supply, the carbon dioxide emissions are too high for producing one particular product. Now if we concentrate on increasing the renewable energy powered production, then we can import more into the Europe apart from all those countries which are emitting more. So మనం కాంపిటేటివ్ అవుతాం అప్పుడు ఎప్పుడైతే క్లీన్ ఎనర్జీ మెకానిజమ్స్ అడాప్ట్ చేసుకో. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ both the ways. On one hand it can be discriminatory and our imports to the Europe can be reduced. On the other hand, we can take it as an opportunity and then we can reduce our emissions, thereby we can increase our imports into the Europe. Both the ways it can be seen. Now along is it only India on which CBAM is levied? No, India is having the highest levy to the extent of 301 million euros which is getting affected, whereas the other countries like Russia, Ukraine and China are also paying extra which are apart from India, but India is having the highest CBAM levy. Now when you compare the impact on the countries, India is having major impact because most of the European Union's steel imports are from India. Iron ore concentrates, iron ore we are exporting to the extent of 20% to the European Union. So which is definitely getting affected if at all CBAM is in place. Now it is only the iron and steel which get affected. Then over a time period, as the core sector is getting affected, all the other sector also gets affected because of CBAM levy. India protested, but India can't do anything because it is their sovereign interest on which they are depending upon. Now it is mandatory for us in order to comply because their US is also levying the 50% import duties. So it is better to comply with the clean energy rather than to comply with US conditions. Now how much is carbon border adjustment levy? It is 35% to the extent of the import value which will be levied on as a carbon border adjustment levy. It will be implemented from 2026. Now going into the second topic, women form 49% of the total hospital admissions with Atmanirbhar Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. With Atmanirbhar Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, which started its implementation starting from 2018. And we need to be proud that India have taken cognizance of our medical efforts in the healthcare, which is Arogyasri, which is implemented in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. They have taken a cue from it and they are giving 5 lakhs insurance per family per annum as a part of this Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. As a part of the health insurance, 49% of the insurance cover is being used by the women, which is definitely indicating that women are getting a qualitative health care because of this concept of Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, which is getting implemented from 2018 in order to give universal basic health care. On the lines of universal basic health care, this particular Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana is being implemented, and over a time period what they have done, they have included all the senior citizens above 70 years as a part of Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, irrespective of their income levels, because this particular Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana considers socio-economic caste census of 2011 in order to include the beneficiaries in the list. So apart from the BPL families in which above 70 years are already getting the benefit, all the senior citizens above 70 years are getting the benefit for secondary and tertiary treatment through Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, and along with them Asha workers, Anganwadi workers and helpers are also included in this particular Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya. It means more base is getting created in Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, where the insurance cover, the health insurance cover is being extended to many families outside of socio-economic caste census beneficiaries also, right? This Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana is implemented along with the private sector, where the empaneled hospitals are given permission in order to treat the patients. Thereby, the health insurance will be applied to the private hospitals also. Now, if you see, the public hospitals, public facilities are actually having 55% of the funds which are utilized under health insurance, whereas private hospitals have utilized 45%, where the health cover is given to the patients. So a total of 31,000 empaneled hospitals were there in entire country, and this is taken a cue from Telangana and Andhra Pradesh Arogya scheme. Now, as a part of it, what Telangana government had done, they are already giving 5 lakhs, and on top of it, Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana is being implemented. So they are giving 10 lakhs. So it is, as they are the yearly boards of healthcare implementation, they are getting more advantage. So 10 lakhs per family, and all the tertiary treatments and secondary treatments can be covered in it. All the states are implementing it except West Bengal. Except West Bengal, all the states are implementing this Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, which is a second part of the scheme, which is providing health insurance to maximum BPL families. Whereas the first part of Atmanirbhar Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana is creating of health and wellness centers, where primary health care is concentrated. అందుకే ఆ తర్వాత ప్రైమరీ హెల్త్ కేర్ సెంటర్స్ అనేవి ఇంక్రీజ్ అయ్యాయి, వేర్ దే ఆర్ నాట్ ఓన్లీ ద ప్రైమరీ హెల్త్ కేర్ సెంటర్స్, దే ఆర్ హెల్త్ అండ్ వెల్నెస్ సెంటర్స్, వేర్ ఆల్ ద ప్రైమరీ ట్రీట్మెంట్స్ విల్ బి డన్ దేర్, whereas secondary and tertiary treatments are covered in the health insurance under Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, under Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, thereby achieving universal health coverage, which is a basic objective of National Health Mission of 2017. Basic objective of National Health Mission. So this is a good step where the universal coverage of health insurance is being brought in, whereas it will be much cheaper to the government, as the GST is also removed on the insurance sector, thereby they can give more benefit to the population who are below poverty line. Now, the next topic is Net FDI fell 159% in August, RBI data. Though the foreign direct investment is continuously falling, it is not the gross FDI which is falling, it is the net FDI. It means the foreign investment which is coming into India minus the the investment which is coming, which is going from India to the outside, that is net FDI. So the net FDI has fell by 159% in August. So here there is a catch. If you see, the gross FDI is $6.04 billion, which is 30% less than 2024. It means the foreign direct investment inflows are getting reduced, which is the first thing. The second thing is the repatriation. It means whatever the investments were there in India, they, after getting matured, they are taken back, not getting invested again. So it is accounted for $4.9 billion, which is 5.4% less than 2024, which is good. It is bad, 30% less than 2024, whereas repatriation also get reduced. But the pace at which the foreign direct investment inflows are reducing to the pace at which repatriation is reducing is not matching. That's why more foreign investment is going outside. It means net FDI is in the negative context, where 616 million is the net FDI which is going out of the country. It means the foreign currency is getting reduced. It means the forex reserves are getting reduced from India, which can be clearly seen. Even Now we have around $702 billion forex reserves. We have a very good buffer. But what is the thing here? The foreign direct investment is reducing consistently. But if you see a longer picture, if it is from April to August 2025, it is completely the net FDI is $10.1 billion, which came into India, which is 121% higher than in 2024. If you see a longer period, net FDI is higher. But if you see the year upon year, August 2025 to that of August 2024, the gross FDI fell, whereas the net FDI is $616 million, which is going out of the country, which is a huge cause of concern now. ఎందుకంటే ఇండియా నుంచి ఫారిన్ ఇన్వెస్ట్మెంట్ చేసే వాళ్ళు పెరిగారు, ఇండియా నుంచి రీపాట్రియేషన్ అయ్యే అమౌంట్ ఓవరాల్గా పెరిగింది. దిస్ మంత్ ఇట్ హ్యాస్ రెడ్యూస్, ఓవరాల్గా పెరిగింది. అండ్ ఇండియాకి వచ్చే గ్రాస్ ఎఫ్డిఐ తగ్గింది బికాస్ ఫెడరల్ రిజర్వ్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ రేట్స్ ఇంక్రీజ్ చేస్తుంది. సో బాండ్ మార్కెట్ అనేది అట్రాక్టివ్గా ఉంది వాళ్ళకి. సో మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద హాట్ మనీ ఈజ్ ఫ్లోయింగ్ outside that of India, whereas this foreign investment which are investing in the Indian companies are $1.7 billion, which is 29.7% less than 2024. It means the India as a investment destination is getting less attractive to that of previous years, which is clearly the context here, because India slowly is moving away from the US. That's the one thing, because it seemed like India is moving very close to the US. But after that, what happened? India is slowly moving away from the US, and also India is concentrating on its domestic investments rather than the foreign investments. So foreign investments ravali, కానీ domestic investments ఎక్కువ. And also foreign investments which are coming from areas like Singapore and Mauritius are increasing. Now the international legislations are tightened. In order to avoid the round tripping of the money. Right. Next one. Does India's 1.9 fertility rate reflect reality? So the total fertility rate, which is defined as the average number of children a woman would produce in her reproductive age, would give birth in her reproductive age. It is called the total fertility rate. Whereas this total fertility rate is reducing over a time period. It is at 1.9 for India, which is we have reached the replacement levels of fertility. Most of the southern states is at 1.5. Even Telangana is at 1.5 total fertility rate. Whereas are we missing something within it? That we need to see. If you see the trends, the 1.9 which we can see it as we have reached the replacement levels of fertility, and we are a declining population, and our demographic dividend is getting reduced, and we are moving towards the aging population, which can be the conclusion from this particular total fertility rate data. Whereas if you divide the age group of women according to the pregnancies that they can get, 15 to 19 age group, if you see, they are getting reduced. NFHS 3 and NFHS 5. NFHS 5 is 19 to 21. Whereas in NFHS 5, the population who are bearing the pregnancy are getting lesser from time to time. It means people are getting aware because of the literacy. It has moved to 25 to 29 in terms of urban areas, whereas it has moved to 20 to 24 areas in terms of rural areas. అంటే women pregnancy రావడానికి 15 to 19 years. Previously there used to be more early marriages, whereas now the marriages are getting delayed because of increased literacy rate, because of women empowerment. The marriages are getting delayed. In rural areas, it is the average pregnancies are happening from 20 years to 24 years, whereas in urban areas, it is from 25 to 29 years. It means the pregnancies are getting delayed, but the number of births are not reducing. And nowhere it is clearly given that the number of births are reduced. It is just the delayed births which are happening. నార్మల్గా టోటల్ ఫెర్టిలిటీ రేట్ క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేసేటప్పుడు ఏజెస్ ప్రకారం క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేస్తారు. 15 to 19, 20 to 24, 25 to 29, then 30 to 34, 35 to 39. Now, as of NFHS 5, as of National Family Health Survey 5, which is from 2019 to 21, the age group of 15 to 19 and the age group of 35 to 39, the pregnancies are reduced. Whereas the age group of 20 to 24 in rural areas and 25 to 29 in urban areas are having a lot of pregnancies, which is clearly indicating the literacy levels of women in urban and rural areas both together. కానీ ఎప్పుడైతే టోటల్ ఫెర్టిలిటీ రేట్ క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేస్తారో నార్మల్గా దే విల్ బి గివింగ్ మోర్ ప్రిఫరెన్స్ టు 15 to 19 ఇయర్స్, బికాస్ యావరేజ్ రేట్లో అదే కదా మోర్ చైల్డ్ బేరింగ్ ఏజ్ అనేది. సో ఎక్కువ ప్రపోర్షన్ అనేది 15 to 19 ఇయర్స్కి ఇస్తారు. కానీ ఏమైంది, ఎప్పుడైతే లిటరసీ రేట్స్ పెరిగాయో ద పిరమిడ్ ఈజ్ షిఫ్టింగ్ టువర్డ్స్ మోర్ ఏజ్ గ్రూప్స్, అంటే హయ్యర్ ఏజ్ గ్రూప్స్. అప్పుడు ఏమైంది, 20 to 24కి 25 to 29కి ఎక్కువ ప్రిఫరెన్స్ ఇవ్వాలి. But we are not giving in that manner. We are giving more to the 15 to 19 years. We are giving more. We are giving till 35 to 13 years. Whereas 15 to 19 years, 35 to 13 years తగ్గిపోతుంది. అదే 20 to 24 yearsకి 25 to 29 yearsకి పెరుగుతుంది. So the methodology of calculating the total fertility rate need to change in order to get the real picture. Now. So why this shift happened in urban areas? It is the lifestyle that has induced them to marry at a lately. Thereby 25 to 29 became the child bearing age. Whereas in rural areas, because of increased literacy, 20 to 24 became the child bearing age. So late marriages, the lifestyles, changing crude birth rates. So the birth rates did not decline. The birth rates are steady. Whereas the total fertility rate is getting declined. So there is a mismatch between the crude birth rates and total fertility rate, which should be in alignment. So there the methodology need to be shifted in order to know the real picture. Now, and in this one there is a tempo effect which we have spoken now. This is called the tempo effect, where because of the delayed pregnancies, it might seem that the total fertility rate is getting reduced. If you give more preference to 20 to 24 age group and 25 to 29 age group, it might change. That is what we can conclude. And now if you see, most of the states in India have reached the replacement levels of fertility, except the states like Bihar. All the states have reached more, and even Jammu and Kashmir, they are the least, 30, 1.3 and 1.4, which is somewhat a cause of concern, because most of the politicians and all, they are saying that total fertility rate is decreasing, so the population is getting declined, and if the population declines, our economic growth reduces. Have more children, more than 2 children. Let's bring 3 child policy. No, but nowhere in the world it has proven that reduction in the total fertility rate can reduce the growth rate. In case of US or in case of Europe or in case of Japan, it is not the case. So nowhere it had proven. Now if you see, what are the limitations in calculating methodology? Normally 15 to 49 is considered as a reproductive age for the women, whereas less than 15 and more than 49 are not considered. This is the first point. And if less than 15 is not considered, most of the Islamic countries are having the child marriages, and at the same point of time, the Muslims population in India are also rising. It means that there are high chances that the child marriages might increase in the Muslim population. So we need to consider this age group also, where the pregnancies can be seen. So that is regarding the total fertility rate, where the methodology needs some look in order to change it, where the real picture need to be brought forward.
Hello everyone. As you all know, Civil Services Prime Time is one of its kind initiative, where we are teaching the students current affairs related to the particular subject one day at a time. అంటే ఒక వారంలో జరిగిన కరెంట్ అఫైర్స్ అన్ని ఒక సబ్జెక్ట్ కి సంబంధించి మేము ఒక రోజులో చెప్తున్నా. సో దిస్ ఈజ్ ఆల్ బికాస్ ఆఫ్ ద రివర్స్ ఇంజినియరింగ్ టెక్నిక్. బికాస్ మీరు ప్రతి వీడియో చూసినట్టయితే ఎండ్లో ప్రీవియస్ ఇయర్ క్వశ్చన్స్ ప్రిలిమ్స్ ఇస్తున్నాము, అలాగే ఒక క్వశ్చన్ మెయిన్స్ ఇస్తున్నాం. సో ఇన్ ఆర్డర్ టు గెట్ డైలీ అప్డేట్స్ అట్ 7 o'clock షార్ప్ యాజ్ వీఆర్ డూయింగ్ ఇట్, సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేసుకోండి, అలాగే బెల్ కూడా క్లిక్ చేయండి. సో దట్ 7 o'clock కి మీకు ఇమీడియట్ గా నోటిఫికేషన్ వస్తుంది.
The next one, core sector growth slows down to 3-month low of 3% in September. So the core sector growth became declined, where powered by coal sector, where powered by coal except steel, coal sector, crude oil, natural gas, whereas all the petroleum based products have reduced because firstly, it is the oil prices which are on a slump throughout the world. It is the oil prices which are on a slump throughout the world. And at the same point of time, the oil marketing companies which are acquiring the petroleum products, they are in a dilemma whether to acquire it from Russia or to listen to the US. So they are actually in the dilemma. So all these together have complied of purchasing less in terms of or lesser production in terms of crude oil or natural gas. So what are these? These are the core sectors which are actually measured under index of core industries, which is actually having 40.27% in index of industrial production. When you see the core sectors, there are 8 core sectors starting from refinery products, electricity generation, whereas refinery products is having the highest proportion in this index of core industries, which is 28%, and fertilizers are having 2.63%, which is lesser. If you need to remember this particular order, as I have conveyed it twice previously, if you remember this technique, read every subject consistently to crack number 1 with certain focus. R for refinery products, E for electricity, S for steel, CO for coal production, CR for crude oil production, N for natural gas, CE for cement, and F for fertilizers. So this is a technique in order to remember what is the order of the production, because mostly they will be giving to arrange the type of sectors as per their proportion. That's why it will be useful for you in the examination to answer it perfectly. Now, if you see the September or the growth rates of individual sectors, coal sector is in the negative growth rate. So it had contracted. Crude oil, it had contracted. Natural gas, highest contraction. Refinery products, contraction. Because of these 3 contraction, refinery products also have the impact. As refinery products is the major proportion of index of core industries, it is having a bigger impact. Whereas if you see, the steel is having the expansion, the steel production has expanded, but as I said previously, we need to be wary of carbon border adjustment mechanism levy, which will be imposed from 2026 on the products which are not clean and are producing more carbon dioxide emissions. So if it gets affected, entire core sector growth gets affected, and when the production gets affected, the demand is reduced, and now we are less than the targeted inflation, which is 2% for consistently 2 quarters, which is a cause of concern. We are going towards the recession mode. Whereas electricity is a positive growth, cement is a positive growth, fertilizers is having a positive growth. So all these 4 sectors are having negative growth, which led to the lesser growth of in comparison to that of August, and in comparison to that of September 2024, it is higher a bit, whereas in comparison to that of last month August, it is lesser, which is half the growth rate that the sector is having in August 2025. Now if you see, in April to September, the coal growth rate is 5.9%, whereas crude oil growth rate you have reduced, because crude oil imports they are having a volatility. Natural gas 2%, refinery products 2.3%, and fertilizers 1.7%, steel 6.3%. Whereas if you see over a time period, what is the sector which got maximum fluctuation? It is the crude oil which got maximum fluctuation over a time period, which is impacting the which is impacting the complete core sector growth, which is impacting the complete core sector growth. Now, going to the next topic, RBI sold $7.7 billion in August to check rupee volatility. Rupee is at the slump because of US tariffs, because of foreign direct investment outflows, because of foreign portfolio investments outflows. So the rupee at its slump, rupee is declining very rapidly as FedEx is at Federal Reserve is increasing the interest rates, where the bonds are getting more attracted. The hot money will move from India to US. When the dollar is moving from India to US, the dollar demand rises. When the dollar demand rises, the rupee gets slump. Which is clearly a pattern which is getting established. Now, what RBI is doing? RBI is selling the dollars and supplying the dollars into the market to reduce the demand of the dollar, to increase the dollar supply in the market. Thereby, rupees value is stabilized. You might be hanging out, sir. Can RBI do that? Because RBI is intervening in the forex market. Normally, if at all we are a fixed exchange rate mechanism, completely RBI can do it. Whereas a floating exchange rate mechanism, it should be by completely the market forces of demand and supply of currencies. Now we are managed floating exchange rate mechanism, where we can actually supply the dollars and purchase the dollars based on the requirement, thereby intervening whenever it is required only. So how RBI gets to know that? We have two different concepts called NER and REER, nominal effective exchange rate and real effective exchange rate. The nominal effective exchange rate gives us a picture on how the rupee is getting declined in terms of other currencies, whereas the real effective exchange rate gives us a picture on the export competitiveness, because it is impacting the exports more. NER, we don't consider it for the export competitiveness, whereas REER we consider, because it is the area where all the aspects of inflation and others are taken out, and then see the real picture of whether the rupee is declining or not. So the REER gives us a good picture on how the trade balance can shift between different countries, whereas NER in terms of rupees depreciation in the market. So now we take care of REER, where real effective exchange rate is also declining, which is affecting the India's export. That's why in India, that's why RBI is intervening into the market and is supplying the dollars in order to stabilize the currency. Because, sir, if rupee value depreciates, it is good only, no, sir, exports will increase. No, it will be good only to the certain extent. If at all it slumps more, then the imports become costlier and the exports will not be that much, because exports will not increase in a short period of time, whereas imports become costlier. Because we are having more imports than exports. It is affecting us, and along with it, the remittances flow will get affected. Along with it, the rupee's value, if it is getting lesser, the inflation will rise. So the market gets affected. It is not the good inflation which is rising. So that's why RBI is intervening and is making sure the rupee gets stabilized. When the rupee gets stabilized, then the RBI will stop intervening in the market. How it can intervene in the market? Now by buying and selling the dollars, by open market operations, by buying, either it can go for the open market operations, or it can go into buying and selling of the dollars. Thereby, it can control the rupee depreciation. Now, when it comes to the exchange, when it comes to the forex market, we are having a good buffer of $702 billion. Very good buffer. We are having a strong buffer of $702 billion, which is going towards the all-time highest, whereas China is having more, around $2 trillion. Now we are also building the forex reserves. Now when it comes to the forex reserves, it is the foreign currency assets which is having a major proportion of $570 billion, along with it gold, special drawing rights, which is a reserve currency, whereas reserve position in the IMF, which is according to the voting rights of that particular country. So all these together constitutes the forex reserves of any country. Now we are at a good $702 billion, but we need to ensure that rupee is not depreciated over a time period, which reduces the fruits that we have got because of the GDP growth rate. All the fruits will be exchanged because of the declining rupee. For that only we stopped depending on dollar and started rupee ruble trade, but it is at its nascent stage. Even BRICS currency is at its nascent stage. If we go towards de-dollarization, then our forex reserves will also increase, where we will be including more foreign currencies and reduced dependence on dollar. Now it is a topic of importance, which is Kerala said to officially be the first state which is free of extreme poverty. If you remember, Kerala became the first digital literacy state, 100% digital literacy. How they have actually achieved it? It is when it comes to digital literacy, when Pradhan Mantri Digital Saksharta Abhiyan depends on computers in order to make sure that the people learn the digital literacy, whereas Kerala depended on mobile phones. Thereby the penetration is very high, and the Kudumba Shri and Asha workers have helped a lot in increasing it. So thereby penetration at local level is highest in terms of digital literacy. The same thing is being applied in terms of for getting free from the extreme poverty, where Kudumba Shri and Asha workers have helped a lot in making sure the identification of right individuals who are suffering from extreme poverty, and implementing the interventions which are given by the state government, so that to move them out of extreme poverty. Now when I say extreme poverty, what is the meaning of extreme poverty? When it comes to the World Bank, in terms of monetary norms, it is $2.15 dollars per person per day till July 2025, whereas after that it is $3 per person per day, which is the minimum monetary minimum dollar requirement in order to identify himself as a person who is not suffering from extreme poverty. Now what Kerala is considering? Kerala is considering $2.15 per person per day as a line where the extreme poverty is measured. Now a person is having more than $2.15 per day, then we can consider as a person who is free from extreme poverty, as Kerala is considering. Now in terms of normal objective, what is extreme poverty? Extreme poverty where a person cannot afford the basic requirements of healthcare, education, food, shelter and clothing. If the basic requirements are not met, then a person can be said that he is suffering from extreme poverty. Now when it comes to the Kerala, how Kerala have actually achieved this objective of eradicating the extreme poverty. Now they have started the Kerala's extreme poverty eradication project in 2023, where they have identified the individuals even from the nomadic groups. They have identified the individuals and ensured that every household have a micro plan, instead of having a complete one size fits all approach. అంటే అందరికీ మొత్తం స్టేట్ అంతా కూడా కలిపి ఒకే ఇంటర్వెన్షన్స్ కాకుండా, పర్టికులర్ ఫ్యామిలీస్కి క్లోతింగ్ లేదా, పర్టికులర్ ఫ్యామిలీస్కి షెల్టర్ లేదా, పర్టికులర్ ఫ్యామిలీస్కి ఎడ్యుకేషన్ లేదా అని ఇండివిజువల్ ఫ్యామిలీస్ని కాన్సన్ట్రేట్ చేసి, then they have eradicated the extreme poverty. Now how is it possible to look at the micro level? It is because of the Kudumbashree, which is very strong at the local level. It is a local self-government, which is the major contributor towards Kerala's success in terms of digital literacy, in terms of eradication of extreme poverty. Now, when it comes to the World Bank definition, it had changed it from June 2025, where 3% per day at 2021 PPP. Purchasing power parity at 2021, they are considering it from 2017. 2017 నుంచి 2021 prices చూసి then they have considered $3 per day. Even when it is adjusted also, it is higher than $2.15 per day. In absolute terms also it is higher. Then we need to strive it again, because Kerala will be declaring it on November 1st. When it is declaring on November 1st, the World Bank has already moved from the particular definition. Then the achievement will be of null and void if it is considered globally. Because China is the only region which have declared that they are out of extreme poverty. Now Kerala will be the second region to declare it. But in terms of World Bank, it had already notified $3 per person per day as a minimum income to measure it from extreme poverty. Now it will be striving again in order to achieve it. Now if you see, in terms of India, in the last decade, over 171 million people, it means 17 crore people were moved out of extreme poverty, which they have measured it at $2.15 per person per day. $2.15 per person per day. Now, which study have confirmed it? It is the World Bank study itself, which had confirmed it through its poverty and equity brief, which was released in April 2025. It means it had recognized India have moved from extreme poverty, which is at $2.15 per person per day. After that, it has notified it as $3 per person per day. Now, India need to look at it again, and then India need to achieve it over a time period. Now, along with it, India also achieved the multi-dimensional poverty eradication, where it had in the last from 2005-6 to 2022-23, it has moved from 53% of people who are multidimensionally poor. It had reduced to 15.5% of the population who are multidimensionally poor, which is very huge. In terms of absolute terms, 24 crore population are moved out of multidimensional poverty, and the most being Bihar, because the base is very less. So that's why Bihar became the highest multidimensional poverty change which happened. Now, when it comes to the urban and rural poverty gaps also, it is the urban area, it is at 10.7%, whereas in the rural area, it is at whereas in the urban area, it is at 1.1%, whereas in the rural area, it is 2.8%, whereas here, the rural area is having 18%, and the urban area is having 10%, which is 8% difference. Now it is having only 1% difference. It means the urban-rural divide between the poverty gap has reduced a lot. So urban area ki rural area ki, the standard of living is normalized over a time period. Now if you see, even Kerala, in terms of multidimensional poverty, is the top major state apart from the union territories, which is just having 0.55% as of 2021, which is NFHS 5 survey report. Now it has completely eliminated the extreme poverty in terms of $2.15 per person per day. So this is a huge achievement, along with the decreasing of multidimensional poverty also. Now all the other states also need to adopt this model, where also Andhra Pradesh and Telangana also have the self-help groups. So now we are not using them to the fullest of their potential, where we are only using them for the economic independence of the women. The Dwakra edaithe undo, we are only using for economic independence. We are not using to increase the standard of living, to increase the health, to increase the education aspects. We are not using it for these demographic indicators. Now, if Andhra Pradesh and Telangana uses this strategy, they can achieve this very easily. When it comes to the previous year questions, as we see normally, in 2022 it was asked, tight monetary policy of US Federal Reserve could lead to capital flight. Yes, as it becomes higher, the interest rates perige koddi, US bond market shift because they are getting higher returns there rather than India. So that's why it will become a hot money. Yes, capital flight will be there. Capital flight may increase the interest cost of the firms with existing external commercial borrowings. When the capital flight is there, then obviously the dollar becomes stronger. When the dollar becomes stronger, the debt which is have higher interest rates. ఎందుకంటే డాలర్ స్ట్రాంగ్ అయినప్పుడు ఏదైతే ఇంట్రెస్ట్ పే చేయాలో అది పెరిగిపోతూ ఉంటుంది బికాస్ ఆఫ్ ద ఎక్స్చేంజ్ రేట్ వేర్ రూపీ గెట్స్ డెప్రిషియేటెడ్. సో ఇట్ మీన్స్ external commercial borrowings will be costlier. Then devaluation of domestic currency decreases the currency risk associated with external commercial. ఇప్పుడే చెప్పాను, ఎక్స్టర్నల్ కమర్షియల్ బారోయింగ్ కాస్ట్లియర్ అయితే ఇంకా రూపీ వాల్యూ డెప్రిషియేట్ చేస్తే ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఇంకా పెరిగిపోతుంది. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ ద రైట్ వన్. సో ద ఆన్సర్ ఈస్ 1 and 2. When we see question number 2, with reference to Indian economy, consider the following statements. An increase in the NIR increases the appreciation of rupee, which is right. As I have said, increase in the NIR increases the appreciation of the rupee. Yes. Whereas increase in the real effective exchange rate increase in improving trade competitiveness. Yes. So it is not the NIR that defines the trade competitiveness. It is the real effective exchange rate which decides the trade competitiveness. Whereas the increase in trend in the domestic inflation relative to the inflation in other countries is likely to cause an increasing divergence between NIR and NIR. Nominal ki real ki difference enti? It is the inflationary aspect kada. So domestic inflation chala ekku undi, bite inflation chala takku unte, then NIR anedemo chala ekku untundi, REER anedi chala takku untundi, then the difference will be much higher. The answer is 3. The answer is 1, 2 and 3. Now, the third question which was asked in 2021 is relevant to the Indian economy. Can the following statements? If the inflation is too high, RBI is likely to buy government securities. Inflation ఎక్కువగా ఉంటే కరెన్సీ అనేది డెప్రిషియేట్ అయిపోతూ ఉంటుంది. ఎప్పుడైతే కరెన్సీ డెప్రిషియేట్ అయిపోతూ ఉంటుందో ఆర్బీఐ బాండ్స్ కొనేసి రూపీ ఎలా సప్లై చేస్తుంది మార్కెట్లోకి, రూపీ అనేది స్క్వీజ్ చేసేసేయాలి. రూపీ స్క్వీజ్ చేసేసినప్పుడు దెన్ టైటర్ మానిటరీ పాలసీస్ ఉండి దెన్ ఇన్ఫ్లేషన్ అనేది కంట్రోల్లోకి వస్తుంది. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ రైట్. RBI will be buying the government securities when the inflation is too low. Then if the rupee is rapidly depreciating, RBI is likely to sell dollars in the market. రూపీ డెప్రిషియేట్ అయిపోతుంటే డాలర్స్ అనేవి సెల్ చేస్తుంది. ఎందుకు? డాలర్ సప్లై పెంచాలి. అంటే డాలర్ సప్లై పెంచితే రూపీ వాల్యూ అనేది డెప్రిసియేషన్ తగ్గుతుంది. బికాస్ డాలర్ వాల్యూ అనేది ఎక్కువ కాకుండా ఉంటుంది. రైట్. సో డాలర్ సప్లై పెంచితే రూపీ డెప్రిసియేషన్ అనేది ఆగుతుంది. బికాస్ డాలర్ అవైలబిలిటీ ఎక్కువ ఉంటుంది కాబట్టి. If the interest rates in the USA or the European Union were to fall, that is likely to induce RBI to buy dollars. Yes, interest rates అనేవి తగ్గినాయి అనుకుందాం యూఎస్లో. ఎప్పుడైతే ఇంట్రెస్ట్ రేట్స్ తగ్గినాయో దెన్ ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ అట్రాక్టివ్, దెన్ ఇట్ విల్ మూవ్ టు ఇండియా. వెన్ ద ఇండియాలో ఫారిన్ ఇన్వెస్ట్మెంట్ అనేది పెరుగుతుంది, హాట్ మనీ అనేది పెరుగుతుంది. ఎప్పుడైతే హాట్ మనీ పెరుగుతుందో దెన్ వాట్ విల్ హ్యాపెన్? వెన్ ద హాట్ మనీ ఇంక్రీజెస్ దెన్ ద రూపీ విల్ బి బికమింగ్, హాట్ మనీ ఇంక్రీజ్ అయిందంటే డాలర్ ఇంక్రీజ్ అవుతుంది. సో డాలర్ సప్లై ఇంక్రీజ్ అవుతుంది. డాలర్ సప్లై ఇంక్రీజ్ అయిందంటే రూపీ ఏమవుతుంది? ఎప్రిషియేట్ అయిపోతుంది. అండ్ ద రూపీ ఎప్రిషియేట్స్, ఎక్స్పోర్ట్ కాంపిటేటివ్నెస్ ఉండదు. ఎక్స్పోర్ట్ కాంపిటేటివ్నెస్ ఉండాలి అంటే ఎక్స్పోర్ట్ కాంపిటేటివ్నెస్ ఉండాలి అంటే రూపీ సప్లై చేయాలి, అంటే డాలర్స్ని కొనాలి. దట్ ఈస్ వాట్ ఆర్బీఐ విల్ బి డూయింగ్. సో దట్ ఈస్ ఆన్సర్ బి 2 and 3 ఓన్లీ. ఫోర్త్ వన్ ఇది మీరే ఆన్సర్ చేయండి, కామెంట్స్లో ఖచ్చితంగా మెన్షన్, బికాస్ దిస్ ఇస్ ద సెకండ్ టైం దట్ వీఆర్ డిస్కసింగ్ దిస్ PYQ. Foreign direct investment, which one of the following is the major characteristic? It is investment through capital investment instruments, essentially in a listed company. Comments lo ఖచ్చితంగా మెన్షన్ చేయండి. It is largely non-debt creating capital flow. It is the investment which involves debt servicing. It is investment made by the FIIs in the government securities. Please answer in the comments. Please do interact. Now, question 5. Gold tranche, which is also called reserve tranche, refers to a loan system of the World Bank, one of the operations of the central bank, credit system granted by WTO to its members, credit system granted by IMF to its members. Reserved rank, according to the voting pattern, we have our proportion in the IMF. We have our proportion in the IMF. And this is a simulated question. What is the status of extreme poverty reduction in Indian economy? Examine the problems faced in this regard and suggest improvements. Now, first give an example of Kerala, because as you have seen, Kerala is the first state in order to eliminate extreme poverty. So, giving it as an example, which will be very good. Then specify how India have reduced the extreme poverty, where 24 crore population were brought out of poverty. And then specify issues individually. Depending on agriculture lo elaga challenges ఉన్నాయి, మాల్ న్యూట్రిషన్ ఛాలెంజెస్ ఎలా ఉన్నాయి, ప్రైస్ ఛాలెంజ్, అంటే ఇట్ మీన్స్ మల్టీ డైమెన్షనల్ పోవర్టీ రిడక్షన్లో ఛాలెంజెస్ ఏమేమి ఉన్నాయి అనేది ఇండివిజువల్గా మెన్షన్ చేస్తారు. అండ్ దెన్ వీ నీడ్ టు గివ్ ద సొల్యూషన్, సజెస్ట్ ఇంప్రూవ్మెంట్స్, హౌ కేరళ ఈజ్ డూయింగ్ ఇట్. కేరళ ఎగ్జాంపుల్తో సజెస్ట్ చేయండి. How Kudumbashree is actually getting implemented. How local self-government strengthening can have more advantage in reducing the extreme poverty. Then concluded by saying that how India need to implement more in order to achieve the latest update of the World Bank. And send it to response@civiccentre.in, and we will be giving you the valuable feedback. Thank you for listening to this particular episode, and subscribe to the channel. And tell your friends in order to subscribe to the channel. And the PCM batches are starting from this 3rd of November 2025. Do not miss the admission. And we'll be teaching through reverse engineering technique, where we have achieved 149 plus ranks in the last Telangana group 1 and 43 ranks in the Andhra Pradesh group 1 out of 110 posts. So we'll be teaching you better through reverse engineering technique. It is your duty in order to choose the right institute. We are the right institute where we get the success rate, and we use the technique, we use the process to get the result. So do join us in the prelims cum mains classes to get good coaching from us. Thank you.
CivicCentre IAS is offering Telangana Group 1 Prelims cum Mains classes, as well as Andhra Pradesh Group 1 Prelims cum Mains classes in English medium for a period of 8 to 10 months. This also covers the complete NCERT textbooks and statewide textbooks. So what are you waiting for? Learn through reverse engineering technique today. Admissions are in progress. Join now. Visit our website. Thank you.